So this is, I don't know how to pronounce the names, DaoCe, and I've really enjoyed his playing style, and I like this game, so here we go. Yes, make this your last one. What is it? I have no idea. I'm going to get back to my lecture now. I really don't know. Okay. Hopefully she stopped interrupting so we can get going here. She loves to interrupt. It's one of her favorite things to do. You don't think I'm serious, but I'm totally serious. Okay. Some people don't think about this 8 in the bottom left corner, about this, but the A and B are very particular. Let's look at it a little bit here. If white comes to the corner, white wouldn't, but let's just look at the characteristic. White's not quite in the corner. But if black comes in the corner, he takes the whole thing on a much larger scale. So black has more corner access, but white has particular outside access, while black has almost no exterior access. So these two stones are very different. A lot of people don't really consider the differences, but they make a lot of difference in this position. So I thought I'd make a point of pointing that out. So black now has the option of choosing a Joseki or playing the unfinished corner. Those two choices are almost always about equal. Joseki choice can sometimes be exciting, really powerful, and other times not very interesting. Unfinished corners are pretty much always big enough. But let's look at some of the black Joseki choices. Black could say that white's going to develop the top too nicely, so we can come in and stop that. But it's not what you call exciting, it's just regular. And his move of the unfinished corner is just as big as that. White, on the other hand, can really get carried away. I'm getting a lot of lag here. Can you guys hear just fine? Okay. So white can get carried away with Joseki choice with this sort of thing. See how white looks like there's a lot of momentum? So black could choose to stop that, but again, his move pretty much stops white from getting out of control. So now it's white's turn to choose Joseki, and let's look at a couple of options. Let's do this one again. See how white's aggressively making demands on the top. I found right around 4-dan, people try to do these grand sort of things, and it takes, well, that's when I started trying all of it. I found it true in other 4-dans too. And you try this for a while until you realize, it's just asking for too much. It's impossible to get more than your fair share, and this is asking for more than your share. So white plays the practical one. And if you want to, you can go through my comments there, the various Joseki choices, and this is the practical one. Okay, onward. A is for settling. B is for settling and keeping black weak. Again, some of you may think of this as very obvious, but some of you may not. I mean, this gap allows black other possibilities for settling, so it's harder to attack. If white's thicker and stronger here, then it's harder for black. Okay. How come black plays A and then leaves it? Anyone familiar with that? White can't connect under. I'm not aware of any peep being a problem. Oh, you're thinking if white peeps, black has this move. I see. That's pretty much true anyway. The deal here is, let's do this first. Oops. Did black's move really help with settling? Black spent time to get area 1. His job was to settle. Did it settle? No, not really. So it's not really necessary to settle. And since black's plan is to settle in the center, since settling on the side can't be done. So let's assume black is settled in the center, like eventually that's going to happen. Well, then instead of C16, he's going to play B18. And then if white tries to split, then black takes the whole corner. So this is black waiting to decide, do I want the I space for later, or do I want the corner for later? So that's what this is all about. Does that make sense? Looks like it does for most people. Libertad says that it stops white from playing this incente. So the problem is that white's getting a nice corner. Well, this is still not only a nice corner, but now there's the underneath power too. And I've had professionals play this against me to take the corner like this. So still very nice for white. A little less points, but much better future. That is to say, moves like this are cente now to connect under. So it's pretty much just leaving the option open for that corner move later. Okay, onward. Here, both white stones are attacked. They're both weak. So the first real question is, which one's more important to save? And it's kind of a combination. Which one's more important and which one's weaker? We could potentially have the more important stone barely hurt and the lesser important stone dramatically hurt. So perhaps we'd save the lesser stone. Depends on the board. But here it's pretty clear. A is more important and weaker. And then what does white want to do? White wants to get out, getting a wall to hurt the D stone. And this is a pretty straightforward way of doing it. The problem is it gets black up to the fourth line, growing the bottom. And that's actually way too powerful, way too big. So we push white down. We see this a lot in other games. I won't go to the trouble of showing. Okay. White wants to get his main group out. Right. White is, you mean the C stone. I'm having some lag troubles here. I mean like this move, running for the nice move, yeah. If black submits, which would be nice, then we get a real nice overall effect. And if black cuts, we're happy to sacrifice the stone because it hurts black on the left so much. Yeah, so it's basically just a sacrifice stone. But let's look at the most straightforward way of dealing with this is to Atari and connect. That's a powerful way. The problem is our E4 stone has really lost some options. Isn't black on the fifth line? Oh, actually not. Fifth line is really bad for points. Fifth line is terrible for points. Third line is points, basically, and fourth line is nice potential points. Fifth line is pretty bad. So instead of hurting this C stone, the pattern is to not hurt it. Now the A stone has become powerful. Is black actually going to just capture it? So it puts a puzzle on black, how to handle this. Now we get to use the A stone with the driving Tsuji. I'm sure most of you know the driving Tsuji. We drive in almost like we're hurting ourselves, but then we use that stone to run out. So the main reason we do reviews, the reason that reviews can be powerful, is that we try to understand the way the strong player is thinking. And that helps us in how we should think in our games. So like here, black can't cut, right? If black plays D, we stop the cut in Sente. But that doesn't mean it's not weak. So there's a weakness at the AD cut there. Hopefully that makes sense. A lot of players think, oh, he can't cut, therefore it's not weak. No, it's weak. There's lots of ways of hurting it. For instance, this has become Sente. It's a very powerful move for white to come back and save the cut. That alone is painful. So white saves that cut, makes that cut stronger while hurting black. Versus here, save it without hurting black. Now that we've saved the weakness at A, we can come back and continue hurting the black group, but come out the other way. F8. We're getting both. Yeah, I mean, there's this weakness immediately. So hopefully you're seeing the simplistic, dare I say, common sense flow to the white stones. I made a comment in a few moves that as white's playing, he's taking care of his general weaknesses and specific weaknesses as he goes. But let's make sure we understand those terms. So our general weakness is like black's A group. Let's assume for a moment it's a group, which it isn't yet, but they're important stones, so black's going to turn it into a group. The A group is weak. It's behind enemy lines, it doesn't have any eyes. But then there's about the B group on top. The B group is completely safe, right? No one's going to be hurting the B group. But it has specific weaknesses. That is to say, black plays here, and it's Sente because white has a gap. So the specific weaknesses and general are very different. And they're to be dealt with differently. But both have to be, we want to fix both as much as we can as we go. Block this out. White's A group is finally out. And now we're going to deal with, white's going to deal with the B stone or the C stone. And for me, that would be tough. A tough call. I'd probably get the B stone out. But white is seeing some very specific issues with the C stone. So I find that interesting. Oh, he does this first. And notice my comment. When you first see this stone, it's like, wait, I don't get it. Why in the world would white choose this Joseki, or why would white leave the area of action? Since it doesn't make sense, immediately you think, ladder breaker. He must have a ladder in mind. You see what I mean? How it doesn't really make sense to leave all those important issues. Okay, so I think you guys understand that. So we get that, and now we see the ladder. If white can get these stones out, it means we're taking the corner, or a good chance at taking the corner, making black's center group weak. Right, that's the question. Ladder? What ladder? Right. So we can see what white has read out. And so now it's going to be played out, and we'll see it take place. And there's the ladder. But white caught the ladder already. So that means this clump, we usually think this kind of clump is bad, but it makes all the black stones weak and strengthens the white stones. It's really big. So black goes to fight the ladder, and white makes the threat good. It is important to note that black will be getting profit in the upper right because he's ignored, right? And black's going to split those stones and get profit. But white has already caught the A stones. The C stones have become weak, the E stones have become weak, the F stones have become strong. That's huge. A great meaning in this capture, and only a local meaning by ignoring D. Plus, it's sente because black has to follow up, or the ladder breaker was in vain. Okay. White can defend the A stone and stop black from getting more profit there. But the B group's pretty darn strong. So A is only for points. It won't be points and hurt black. While the C stone, if we defend that, it's points and bothers the D group. Perhaps this idea is one of the big things Q players miss, is they see something and go to save it without thinking, how profitable is it? You have to see profit as many things other than just points. A stone can be worth a half a point because it takes 2 moves to take it, and it's 1 point, so 2 moves for 1 point means a half a point per move. Or it can be 100 points because it's a cutting stone in a fight. So value really depends a lot on what it's going to accomplish in the future. Okay, white gets out aggressively. White couldn't have done this before. Before, white had to get out passively. But now white can do it aggressively because black has become very weak. Here, the purpose of the A stones is to hurt that black group. The B stone's not key in that. So white hits this vital spot. Black's pretty much forced to take, and notice that white has helped the A group, and the B group is still eyeless. So that's, to me, a great example of keeping your eye on the goal. Instead, if you simply save the stone, then all of a sudden, white's becoming the weak one. black has a lot more chances. Is this all making sense? Good. So, white's in Atari. I can get out, which we usually do, get out to where the rest of the board is, or we can take. There's a lot of Aji in the corner. You're asking about before. Yeah, when black captures here, he's creating eye space in Sente with, for instance, a future into the corner, which also starts saving the cutting stones. See, there's a lot of potential there for black. And he needs to do that because he's in a weakened position. So white says, you better do that. Black says, you're right, I better. Great, that allows me to do what I wanted also. So it's a cool move. So A and B. A is kind of greedy. I want it, white saying, I want that little 4-stone center group. You're pretty much saying I want everything. So instead, white just captures. Now the corner's strong. This strengthens all the groups pretty much. If black had cut F11, would he be dead? There's no strict life and death here for anybody. It's not like if black had played different, white would be dead. No, everyone's, it's just a fight. And it's more like it's going to go good or bad for someone, not life and death for someone so far. I mean, for instance, white has all these moves, right? Those are living moves, running moves, attacking moves. So nobody's about to die. It's just who's going to be in a better position. Okay, so white captures. Black says Atari again, and white captures. So white did very practical here, taking care of business and allowing black to get this outside. The other way, greedy, gives black options to get back in the game. Okay, and now the B stones have become weak. So white wants to help the B stones, hurting the A stones. And this is the perfect move because it removes white's eye, assuming we win the ko. So it dramatically hurts black and absolutely saves white, assuming we win the ko. So black starts the ko, because if he doesn't, it's just he dies. So he has to start the ko. And this is tremendously large. And white has the right to win it, absolutely, because black has to make the first threat. So white has the right to ignore anything at all to win it. So we'll see black's threat. And right away we notice black cannot kill everything in one move. Great. So white says, we'll fix. But check out, fixing means the A group went from being cut off and weak. If they're cut off and weak, then his B group can run out in strength. This is a really, really big move. And again, it's very practical. Notice how white has given black stuff, but nothing practical yet. That's to say, the C move has not yet killed D or E. The cutting move of F has not yet killed anything. only potential, while white's gotten practical stuff. White lives in the corner. And black, again, notice it's not practical. The A stones can run out, the B stone can live. Now, we're not saying that black's not going to get anything, but white already has his stuff. Black is still looking forward to his. White gets out, but white's real goal is to pressure that A group. This is key in this situation, is that that's what white's after. I mentioned a minute ago that Q players tend to only think of one thing at a time. I'll get my stones out. But if we should white peep at E14? No way. And this is an important question. First off, black can simply chase white. And if white cuts, the main thing, which is black's help and white's help on top, white got some points on the left, white didn't want the points on the left. The fight is what's important. Not just that, but if black fixes, black is now stronger. There's no longer a weakness there. There used to be a weakness there, but not anymore. What did white accomplish? Nothing. White needed no help here whatsoever. So this is simply a bad exchange. Didn't help white, did help black. Okay, so we really want to watch white's focus on the A group. Black comes out. If we only wanted our stones out, we'd run out quickly. Perhaps and we made a dramatic reduction or invasion into the black area. But black got healthy on both sides, or at least the important side. So instead, white plays this move, closer to the weak stones. Now white's done some reading here, and we'll watch this take place. On the surface, looks like white's separated and weak, but white's done the reading. Atari and the main cutting stones come out. The center stones are weak, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was these cutting stones. So we've killed the main thing we're after. I just thought that was a wonderful example of having a plan and playing your moves based on the plan. And notice, white can simply get out. So black doesn't have this yet. So again, white's done something practical and black hasn't. But why would black play L16 instead of taking the two stones to begin with? What two stones? Oh, like this? Well, there's a couple things. Let's look at it this way. Like something like that, or J16. Let's look at it. If black wants to take them, he pretty much has to play this way. Let's Atari that. Yes, black succeeded. Oh, but the cost is just tremendous. Tremendous cost. White got wonderful in this area, and black got tiny life in Gote. So he really doesn't want to do that. Black's playing very well. I mean, not only is black 8-down, but he's proving in this game he's playing wonderful 8-down moves. Problem is, they're just little subtleties that white's taking advantage of. That is Before I Decay. I like that name. Before I Decay. You have control before? Can you show your question? Not too low, because there's not much going in the center right here. So black played here instead of here. This doesn't quite work, is that correct? Yeah, this ladder doesn't work. What about this ladder? That ladder doesn't work. It would if white had played G. Oh, you're right. So, right. So white can capture the 3 stones in the center, and black again is small. It's a lot of details here for sure. And this is one good thing. You can, after you see all these things, you can review the game over and over and do a little more reading here, a little more insight there. You can get a lot out of the game. I review games a lot. So, black has given up something significant, but look at what black has accomplished in the upper right. Black is looking enormous. That's a very positive thing. So he kills the cutting stones. Again, check out what black has. It's tremendous. I mean, certainly, it's pretty darn big. Still not exactly practical, but really getting large. So this makes a lot of sense. And white's next move isn't easy to find. One thing I found very interesting in this game is the thickness of the A stones is very positive considering black's moil or almost moil on the right. On the other hand, the A stones have no eyes, and white's strong nearby. So the A group is quite interesting. It's thick, which is great, but it's all alone without eyes, which is bad. So that determines going to play very heavy in this game. White comes as close to this upper right position as he can while maintaining safety. This is an unusual move for black. We only do this when we have something truly worthwhile. So we're getting the biggest perimeter possible. And black indeed has something quite significant there. Here we usually see A or B for white, or a combination of them for life, local life. But there's a lot to do in this black center. So white cuts and gets some Aji in there. And I thought this was particularly insightful for white because what black got on the right is actually kind of small, what, maybe 6 points? But what white got in the center is particular Aji, which can be worth much more than 6 points. That doesn't mean it will be, but if white plays well, the Aji is going to be worth more than the points on the right. And white did that in Sente. So I thought that was, that's above my level for sure. If I could play that, I would be so happy with myself. But then I'd have the burden of using that Aji correctly for the rest of the game. And I could take a crack at it, but the way he did it was wonderful. He used this Aji all over the place. And he starts here. This is a really insightful move. If we can't, this threatens to work with the A-stone, capturing the A-stone, while developing the right, while bothering the bottom. This is a very cool contact move. The E-stones here have a lot of liberties. So the idea of capturing A is not at all out of the question. Look at white stones. They are playing so aggressively, leaving cuts all over the place. But there's that E stone, and remember the F stones on the left that we talked about. This Hane at C is very aggressive, taking everything into consideration. This is a fantastic series white plays here. Really insightful. White starts the Tsuji. It's a pseudo-driving Tsuji, driving black into white's weak position. But now, white starts this driving Tsuji, an actual driving Tsuji, which is going to result in something of black's dying. So if black does follow through, you can probably see it already. Atari, if he takes, this dies. And black's a clump in the center. So this whole series of white was really, really good. Very, very nice Tsuji. Black takes, white takes. So the Aji of the A-stones gave white this wonderful position, and black's getting weak in the corner. Goes for life. White could simply do this, but white makes sure there's a little Aji in there first. White's ready to play away, to use the Aji some more, but this black move at A in Sente is very annoying, and white can remove it in Sente, and then white ignores. Now A is Gote instead of Sente. Big difference. So this white move totally uses the Aji of A, threatening B, threatening to surround B, and we're really keeping our eye on the C stones. No, you can't come up because you get here all over me. You just shed all over me, so you stay down. So the two black groups can't connect, right? That's a long distance to go from A to B. So white can play this, I don't want to call it a slow move, it's a preparatory move. The idea is simply splitting. It's getting a little weak. So white makes a strong living move, point move, stopping black from extending, and preparing to cut. Now black plays his own Tsuji. Black is saving his stones on top with a very nice Tsuji, but if he doesn't save them, that's huge. So saving the stones is very big, but it also allows white next move to start the attack on the bottom. But black has to do something to get in this game. So black captures on top, Now how big is that? Black, with this move, black is creating 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 points. And removing 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 to 15. Those 30, 35 points. Very big. But now white starts the double attack. Black had to risk that he could live through it. And the split. Black is officially split. So white can play A or B here. A simply connects. So black can't cut. But black has 3 in a row. And most of you know that rule. 3 in a row is not enough. It creates a bad shape, and all weaknesses start to bother black. So white really wants to play B. Not only that, the black center is getting enormous. That's another reason we want to play B, is to have access to the center. But if we play it, black gets to cut at A. So there's a lot of reading here. White plays the shape move, allowing black to cut. In Sente. And a question I had for myself here is, how much reading did black do here? Did he actually read out life and death on the bottom? Or did he simply play the shape move? I'm a very lazy Go player. As all my students will tell you, I'm quite lazy. So I would play this just on principle, and I wouldn't do any reading on the life and death. That's a good question. Is black alive or not? That's a tough question. And I just find the question itself fascinating. Did this 9-dan read all that out, all the stuff that's happening here? Probably not. He didn't. I doubt that if he read everything that's happening out. How much did he read? I'd love to ask him. That's an interesting question. So let's watch how this plays out. Cuts in Sente, we're about to die. Like it's that Sente and this Sente. Now the A group's fine for the moment. White goes for the kill. That's the vital point. I probably would have played the vital point here, but this doesn't necessarily threaten to connect under, threatens to connect out. White's move is also vital point-like, but threatens to connect both ways. Notice if white comes down, see all the problems that start happening? Well, that's just weak position. So white fixes. White gets another forcing move. Sorry. If white tries to play Ko, white's risking everything. White can't risk that. And again, that's the most basic concept about Ko, is who is risking what. A lot of people have trouble with Ko. I would say when I was 4-dan, I understood almost nothing about Ko. I was scared to death of Kos. 5-dan, I felt better. 6-dan, I feel quite comfortable with them. But it's, what finally turned the light on for me was that the simplicity of who's risking what. So like Shane is sharing that, I mean, I don't know if that 4-dan's real because there's a question mark, but some strength there, and it's like, man, Ko's scared me to death. Yeah. They're complex and scary. So we have like a flower view in Ko. That's real obvious because one person is risking nothing and the other person's risking a lot. Yet ICQ players in a flower viewing ko situation and they fill the ko. What are you thinking? You're saving 1 point, allowing him to save 30. Just play ko for the 30. You don't care about the 1 point. But that principle is what's missing, is who's risking what. So here, white's risking a lot. Can't do that. So white saves. White starts to run home. Now, I think there's no denying we're in a complex situation. But notice, A is the vital point, and if white plays it and black does nothing, B kills. Atari, and there's no saving. So A is the vital point in Sente. This is a little 1 or 2 move readout, at the end of which, well, it's 1 move, A. At that point, you look at the situation, we kill. To me, little 1, 2, possibly 3 move readouts, and being able to judge the outcome, be able to see the position and make a valid discernment, that's powerful reading. It's very practical and meaningful. Reading out 20 moves and stuff, well, that's great, but average everyday go for amateurs, 2 move readouts with the discernment at the end, that's what's powerful. No, vital point doesn't always kill. Vital point is the vital point. It could be a ko, could be seki, could be a simple bother, so that later he has to fill in. It could be anything. It's just a vital point. White plays here, and I see no little bit of benefit in that S8 becomes Sente. But S8 was Sente anyway. So I thought this was probably a Chisuji to gain time and spend some more time reading out the bottom. I could be wrong, but that's my impression of this. Is it's just the time Suji. Okay, white ignores that area to get Aji to do stuff in the center. But if black takes this time to live on the bottom, then white kills the B group, which means the white center stones, all the white center stones are alive. That's as big as the bottom. So white has time to fool around here and develop some ideas. So white's gotten a great Aji of A, lots of Aji there. And notice all those A stones that are there, they made use of the Aji at B. So those B stones have given us a ton of profit. Yeah, there's a lot of kibitzing. It took me a while to go through and get rid of it. Every time I do a review like this, I have to go through and get rid of all the old kibitz. Okay. If white plays A, black does the Sente to kill. Let's make sure we see that. Oh, did I have that as a variation? I think I did. Atari, 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 and kill. So, white's not going to run home. Instead, white captures. Now, if black uses that same sequence, white can just play here, and black's dead. If black gets ready to kill, we just say Atari. So there's a couple little quick readouts here that really give us a direction. Now the AB works. White gets rid of that I. White fills. That's the rabbity 6. It's a one big I. So now if black plays A, he's alive. So he plays here the Atari. So black's dead. But there's a great deal in the center. So black starts, if he gets that whole thing, I started to count. You can see that. I put down white's score. But I got so engrossed in all the variations and all the counting that I never finished that thought. So that's a half a thought sitting there. Did black misread the I? I would say no. Do you mean that on the bottom he couldn't live? N? Oh, just a second. Yeah, still dead with G. Now, how is that? Oh, that's directly Atari. Okay. Even when, I've been over this position so many times, but every time I look at it, I find myself getting a little bit lost. Like, oh, but where's that living? What's that? Because there's so many things going on. It's easy to get confused. Okay. So white kills. Black goes for the outside, because there's still hope if black gets all the outside. Notice black's area. It's tremendously large. Oh, very important to keep playing because this is a ton of liberties. I think it's 18 liberties. With that many liberties, white's not quite alive yet. There's lots of potential stuff that can happen. So, black takes. Notice black has to take, which means he's still getting Aji from the A-stones. It's not till now that the A-stones finally lost their meaning. He got so much from the A-stones. I just think that's absolutely fascinating. One guy that I used to play with a lot when I was growing up in the Go world, he and I were 1-2 together and 1 dawn together and 5 dawn together, and we just kept pulling each other up through the years. He was great with Aji. He would do exactly this sort of thing. He would take a little bit of Aji and then just use it all the way to endgame. J9. Yeah, that's just a 1-stone capture. You'll see that white just gets a whole lot from going in this direction. The way I saw this, the C-stones, the Aji of the C-stones transferred over. They became the D-stones. And now the D-stones are the Aji stones. So that white gets a lot from the D-stones. So I just saw the C-stones transfer over to D, and then white continued to use it. That was my perspective on this. White has to live, because black has a ton of liberties. This is sente to kill. Right, there's the kill. Those are You don't see it. So black kghin is to get rid of that. And now, if white goes away and black takes the eye, white can get this eye. So white has time to take. White gets rid of the eye. White finally lives. And white has to live because black has 18 liberties, which I think is commented before too long. Black starts endgame. If he gets all the endgame, there's still a chance. But white comes up with this beauty, Atari, and kills those center stones. And black resigns. So I just thought there was a whole lot of wonderful examples of how to use LGD, a lot of little me-I stuff, a lot of examples of practical points versus potential points. Well, that was a great game with it, a lot of good examples. And even though the white moves were advanced, there's still the sort of thing where you could follow it. A lot of pro games, it's just nothing but deep reading, and it's like, even once you show it, it's like, well, I'm still not sure, because what if they showed another variation that showed something else and it didn't work? It's like you just don't know. It's less meaningful. It's like, who's going to bother just reading out all that stuff? Nobody. It's just other than pros. But this stuff is principles. I can't even pronounce his name, DaoCe. I saw him play a game, and I went back, I looked at his account and went through all his games. And sometimes I find some wonderful games. I particularly like when we see an 8 or 9 dan, when they're just starting out and they're playing, 1Q, 1 dan, 2 dan. We see them walking up the ladder. I love watching how the real strong player plays very, very simply against a dan player, and he wins so simply without ever doing anything. I love those games, and we've gone over many of them. Sometimes I'll watch a 9 dan walk up. He has a new account and he's walking up the ladder, and I look at the games and it's like, I don't care anything about these games. All he's playing is complex fighting. There's nothing I'm going to learn from complex fighting. It's just, oh, wasn't that great of him? But I don't learn anything. The principles I learn from. Okay, well, we're out of time. We have about 2 minutes. Not much we can do in 2 minutes. As always, I encourage you to download the stuff and go over it. Actually, there's something I want to mention. Probably a lot of you know this idea. I've had a number of pros tell me this, and they always have a strong emotion when they tell me this. They say, there's an exercise you can do, and trust me, this will really help your game. This will really help your reading ability. So they say, do life and death problems, but make sure they're really easy problems. And by easy, they say it should take you between a half a second and 3 seconds to solve. And you wouldn't dream of looking up the answer in the back of the book because it's so obvious. So in other words, really easy. They say if it takes 5 seconds, it's too hard. Real easy. So the idea is that as you do this, your mind is very quickly going black, white, black, white, black, white, and you're reading out. And it trains your mind to simply get in the habit of seeing the stones play out on the board. And they're saying this is a great exercise. So for me, I've taken this one step further. For myself, I find if there's a game, for instance, like this one, that I already know and I'm going to replay it, and I see where, oh, black wins the fight, and I've already read it out, I read it out again the next time I review. And it's like, oh, and in my head I can go black, white, and I can read it out faster and more securely. All that kind of thing. I find that is very helpful for me. It's kind of a similarity there. Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. Hopefully we had a good time and maybe learned something. We have one more lecture on the books, and we'll do that next week. We haven't done a take turns style or create our own style in a while, so I'll probably choose one of those. You guys can always send in feedback if you prefer one over the other. And that's probably what we'll do next week. Okay, guys. Thanks for coming. See you later. Oh, and we are at 1, so feel free to donate if you want us to keep going. Bye.